Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Talking Towns match preview. I'm your host, the Gov. Looking forward to this evening's show. If you'd like to have your say, then you can do so via our live chat or by hitting the link, which is now in the live chat. I'm going to try and keep it nice and tight tonight, nice and brief, nice and concise. So if you do want to come on and have your say, please do so. But we'll try and get as many of you on as we can. Obviously, we can't always promise that you will get on the show, but the link is now in the chat. Lots to talk about, lots to go through. I'll go through a couple of messages first and foremost. We've got Greg from Wellington, New Zealand. Welcome in, Greg. Hope you're well. Crunch is in the room. We've got Greg again. Lots of people coming in. Leeds are relentless, says Joe S. Mike D, always tough when other teams above us play first and win. Leeds flying already, says Robert Grimsey. Lots of comments in regards to Leeds. We are also partnered with Match Bingo. Don't forget, you can play Match Bingo, win cash prizes. Are you a sports enthusiast who loves football and cricket and wants to support the life-saving work of the East Anglian Air Ambulance while playing? If you do want to do so, you can play by the information on the screen, register online, then download the Match Bingo app on your mobile phone. You choose the matches, £2 a bingo card. They also have a free Bing goals on there. I have won some money this season, not as much as I would like, but I have won a little bit of money on there. And of course, we are supporting the East Anglian Air Ambulance every time we play. So please, if you would like to have a go at the game, over 18s only, be gamble aware. If you're watching on catch up, you can still obviously play the game. And FTA, comment for the algorithm, like, subscribe, all of that absolute wonderful, wonderful stuff. Paul says, got to win tomorrow night just to keep the pressure on Leeds and Southampton. Leeds, of course, winning 2-0 currently. Joining me this evening is none other than the Milk Tray Man, Ben Adams. Ben, how are you?
Very good, thank you, mate. Yourself?
Oh, well, I'm okay. Is everybody else around me? Arthur's got a sick bug, and Elsie's not too well. Which was, as a father, it puts the pressure on everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just mine's just getting over a little bit of a bug himself. It's relentless time of year to be a dad of a young one, or a parent of a young one. But absolutely,
it is. It is because you're dead tired anyway, and then at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's vomit everywhere. And it's like
vomit, poop, a lot. But do you know what?
Not even had the night out. I've not even had the night out, Ben. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind.
I remember
yeah,
them.
I don't mind waking at 2 in the morning with vomit everywhere when I've had a night out and it's Jaeger bomb. But I can't be dealing with it. But we're here. We're here to talk about Ipswich Town, of course, and there's lots to talk about.
Sure.
First of all, the game at the weekend, West Brom. What are your thoughts? We see obviously a little bit more removed as we normally do. Normally do this on a Monday night, do it on a Tuesday now, but a little bit more removed. What are your thoughts as we sit here on that?
I thought it was a fair result. I think overall we're becoming a bit of a second half team, and that's crept in over the last 10 games. We are a second half team, so we kind of have to do it at the end because we certainly not do it in the first half. Even down to individual players, who I thought Clark didn't have a great first half, but I thought he had a much better second half. But that last 10 minutes was like the Alamo, absolutely fantastic. I've got a bit of a confession to make. Cruncher on Sunday's show alluded to a supporter who texted him during half time. He said, well, I'm saying, he said, Broadhead, he said, his class is permanent, form is temporary. And it was me who texted him and said, when's this class going to kick in? Bang, 45 seconds later, lovely little goal. Made me look like a right mug. But do you know what? I will take that every day of the week. And I think he needs that goal in all seriousness. He's, like a couple of others, not been great recently. So I think that goal is going to do him the world of good. And it was a really well-taken goal as well. So good on him.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Nathan Broadhead, because there's been lots of chatter about him. You know, he's not finding the pockets of space he in League One. Of course he isn't. It's not League One football. It's the Championship. Sure. I'm a big Nathan Broadhead fan, the needle mover, as I like to call him. How have you seen his season overall in the last couple of weeks going? He's got the goal on Saturday. Great to get him back on the score sheet. But you obviously are saying about the form, the class, etc. So am I guessing you're not someone who's enamoured with what you're seeing from Broadhead?
Compared to usual standards, not as much. But, you know, for the heights we've hit over the last year and a half, everyone's due a bit of a dip in form, and it's been said to death on the show. I hear it to death in the stands. Sometimes you don't realise the value of a player and the system he plays until he's gone. And a big part of Nathan's game, a big part of Burns' game, a huge part of Chaplin's game, because Christ knows he's been near anonymous for quite a while now, was losing our striker, you know. And I always talk about my little cliche thing. I always say, give me the player that makes other players better. Well, Hurst makes about 3 other players look better. And when you take out that part of the system, you see everyone else dip. Fair enough, man, because the system's built to work. It's like any machine. You take out a little cog, it doesn't start working so well. So, God, do we miss Hurst? And it will cost us automatics. I mean, as soon as he'd gone, the whole thing kind of fell down a little bit, as the form has shown. We're a bottom third form team at the moment. However, I see a lot of guts, a lot of courage, never say die attitude, and we're competing, apart from your once or twice, which is more than I could ever wish for in the Championship.
Yeah, I suppose in that regard, you say about, you know, missing George Hurst is going to cost us the top 2, and it was looking like it possibly could well do. It's very similar, very reminiscent of the Shefki Kuchi Joe Rule days when we lost Kuchi to that injury. And that cost us the top 2. We brought Scowcroft in on loan, who sadly, you know, good player Scowcroft in his day, isn't Shefki Kuchi's profile, isn't the same player as Shefki Kuchi. The hope, obviously, here is Moore can contribute a lot more in regards to what Hurst brought to the team than Scowcroft did for Kuchi. How did you see Moore's performance? He's got 2 goals at Preston. I thought he was unlucky not to get the score sheet Saturday. But he's not George Hurst. He's never going to be George Hurst. How did you see
he's not, because George Hurst is a complete anomaly in the modern game. What he does, I don't know any other player in our league that can do what he does. And he's not prolific goal scorer, but the hold-up play that he allows other people to run forward. Kiefer Moore is better than, you know, Jackson, who we had, and he's better than the strikers we have. But he's probably, I don't know, the 2 goals he took were just what we bought him for. A cross, a high guy in the box, and a poacher's goal. That's the kind of striker he is. He's a massive step up, I think, from what we have. But that lack of depth really killed us. I mean, when one man missing, the whole team's form fall apart. Like when Haaland was out for Man City didn't fall apart, arguably. They were just about as good. But with ours, the entire thing fell down like Jenga, as is the past 10 games. Kiefer Moore will make us better, but he won't make us the team that I think Hurst was. And fair enough, because Hurst was brought in for that reason. But I love what I'm seeing from him. It's a different kind of a striker, and I always love seeing different kind of a striker. It's how he works with Al Habmi, who I think has actually quite a massive part to play. You know, Morsey was saying it. The guy's ready. You just put him on, he's ready. I wouldn't.
How do you fit him in? Because
well, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in on tomorrow as a total wild card. Because Kieran's always got a wild card in his team selection you don't see coming. I think you might just see him start in the same way that Crunch quite correctly said. Oh God, who is it? God, I can't remember who said it was. He said I wouldn't be surprised if he was dropped, and he was. I can't remember. But Kieran always has a bit of an anomaly up his sleeve. Oh, okay. And I think he might just start tomorrow. You know, knowing Millwall a bit, he might just start. So we'll see.
Talking to Crunch, I'll get some flack. Who's Kuchi, Shefki? You know who I mean, Rich. And if you don't, get back to supporting through your local side, mate.
Across pictures.
He knows who I mean. He knows. He should please be supporting Peterborough. Marlborough, it's not just losing one player in Hurst, it's others having dips at the same time. I suppose is what you're sort of alluding to there, is what Hurst brings, though, isn't it? Are they dipping because Hurst isn't there, or are they dipping just because that's the ebb and flow?
It's a bit of kind of chance that 3 players dip the minute that he goes out the team, which is exactly what happened. All the chances dried out for everybody, and that's not a critique of anyone. It's just the system we play. You know, if we took out Haladki, I know there's a big debate about Haladki Walton, but he's key to how we play. And if you suddenly change him or Walton, yes, he's a fantastic keeper, but he doesn't fit in the system in which he's been bred to play in. So you can't underestimate the importance of what Hurst did, because he made the whole thing work. You can't have an engine without the grease, even if all the parts are there, and he was the grease.
Leanna said Moore is more of a goal threat than Hurst. Yeah, possibly so. I could see maybe a bit more of a natural finisher.
I agree with that. I think
but the
then
physical
traits I think
is what.
Ladapo was a better natural finisher than Hurst. But fortunately, that's he didn't really have anything else to his game. But I agree, he's more of a goal threat. But unfortunately, him not being there has made 3 others less of a goal threat. So on balance of play, I would rather have someone who scores less but allows others to create more. In my opinion.
Norman says Alaki's form has dipped too in the last 3 games. There have been 7 shots on target against us, and we conceded 7 goals.
But look at the defending.
Well, yeah, not great. We'll obviously touch a bit more on the defending, the goalkeeper, look ahead to Millwall. But, on the eve of Valentine's Day, we have a report coming out. Am I frozen, Ben? Let me know if I'm frozen.
But I can hear you are, but I can hear you perfectly. So
if you can hear me, that's all that matters. You haven't got to see me.
Your face will catch up.
Yeah, well, I've been waiting 34 years. Right. If you can hear me, that's all you need to do. So we had a report, obviously, about Kieran McKenna, Crystal Palace, the eve of Valentine's Day. It feels like when you first start to discover, rumblings in your relationship is not all as it seems. That it's not going to Palace, the report says, obviously, but Palace still hope we could take charge in the summer. What have you got any thoughts, feelings, opinions on the McKenna Palace rumour?
It feeds into the narrative. A lot of people think McKenna's going to go to a Premier League team. Look, I've got a bit of a unique take on this. I don't think so. So I don't think McKenna's actually achieved anything yet in order to facilitate a Premiership team. He got us promoted from League One, phenomenal achievement. But people should be looking at like the manager of Luton Town, who's doing an unbelievable job, particularly in recent form with the budget they're on. If McKenna achieves playoff victory or certainly goes to a final, then in my view, he's achieved something. But for me, I don't think McKenna has achieved enough yet to make one of the big Premier League's actually teams come in and say, wow, we want you. Compared to what we've been used to for the last 12 years, I think that McKenna has done, unbelievably well. He's a comparative god for us, and if a statue came up of him anytime in the next 10 years, then, I would eat my chips and stroke the foot before every game too. But I think, there's a lot of, I'm going to keep going on this because I can see Govers having trouble reconnecting. But I think certainly teams are going to be standing up and noticing McKenna. You're back, all good?
Not all good. I'm on the iPad now, so you keep going. I've just so I could hear you because I could hear rumblings of you in my headset, but I couldn't hear the full. And I wanted to hear it because Ben Adams always got an analogy or two, obviously. So
there's no analogy really. I was just saying how much you heard. I don't think Kieran's achieved enough yet to make a Premier League team come in and go, oh my God. I think they probably made an inquiry, Crystal Palace, but I think a lot of teams are going to be looking to see what he actually does this season because he's not actually achieved anything yet. In fact, if you're going to be completely brutal about it, and Premier League teams pick their managers on brutality alone, we let a 10-point lead slip and we're now 7 points behind the top 2. So if anything, teams going to be looking at it thinking, well, hang on a minute, this guy was meant to be all singing, all dancing. He's like a god. He's just, he's very, very human. He's still learning. Oh, that's right. He's young. He's still developing how to be a good manager. I just don't think it's enough yet for a big team to come in and say, here's a 4-year contract and he's going to make you £10 million. He hasn't achieved anything yet for that.
Palace aren't a massive team, they're a team that would probably. They looked at Patrick Vieira a couple of years ago, who was at the time an up-and-coming manager, looking to build something. They could view McKenna through that same mindset. That this is the manager that we can trust to hand over for with a plan, 3 to 5 years. And the thing is, fans will tell me, why would he leave Ipswich Town Football Club, Ben? But then also in the window, all I hear is we're competing against teams with bigger budgets and better players. Well, Palace have a better budget and a better set of players. This is, as a career, I couldn't say, oh well, Kieran's definitely not going to be interested in that potential move.
I agree with you. I don't think he's going to look. We've said so much about how important momentum is to the game of football. I don't think he's stupid enough. And if anything, he's an intelligent man, even probably away from football. He's very analytical. He's not going to fuck up his entire career by going to a Premier League team where every single other team in that league has a bigger budget and better players, get absolutely spanked, trying to start a development cycle with a squad of players and be sacked after a year and a half. When players go and do that and they go to the bigger teams and they can't get in the team, it kills their careers dead. Very few times does a player come up, then down, then up again. It almost never, ever, ever happens. And managers are the same. You get one, maybe two chances in the Premier League, unless you have like a Roy Hodgson lineage behind you of proven track records. But I don't think he's stupid enough to lead out. I think he wants to see it through. I think he'll have one more year in the Championship. And if next year we're in the top 6, okay, it might make a few teams thinking there's consistency here. But I'm sorry, Guff, I love that man. That he has done what my love for Town. I can't even tell you how much I love this guy as a manager. Probably next to Burley, my favourite of my lifetime, certainly. But he hasn't achieved anything yet this season. Not even close. And I think let's have a conversation in 3 months and then let's see who's coming for him.
Okay. No, and that's why I sort of when I read it today of all days, day before Valentine's Day, it's that sting because it is going to hurt a lot of people whenever that day happens. And that day will eventually happen, of course. It'll happen in every managerial appointment. There's also a last day on the job, and it's going to hurt a lot of people because he's brought a lot back to people, to the football club, to the community, to the town.
There's 12,000 fans turn up for a game that weren't there 2.5 years ago. He's got 12,000 people every single game through the gate just on what he's built alone. Absolutely incredible. The man will be a legend for as long as when we're in our 70s. We will talk about Kieran McKenna. We all will. But all good things come to an end. The price of victory, unfortunately, is sometimes a bit of a goodbye. Riding your horse off into the sunset, having done everything you can do. Films are built that way. And one day will come that, chance to get up on his horse, ride off into the sunset, and we're all bidding farewell with our hankies. But I love a manager who leaves something in a better state than he found it. And by fucking Christ, has he done that.
Oh, absolutely. Got JTP in the chat here says Carlos Corberán should be the man to replace Mckenna if he leads to the Premier League. I'm certainly interested in Carlos Corberán. I think he's a great manager, tactically very aware, and almost could be a ready-made replacement for Kieran McKenna. Sean K-Mac has brought back the love, a bond that's not been there for years, which is what we just been talking about.
Great.
I knew this topic would get sort of a lot of feeling, a lot of emotion behind it, as of course it would do. And at this point, it's of course important to reiterate nothing has changed. He hasn't gone anywhere. He isn't going to go anywhere. It's just that line in it, Ben, that really sort of got me, which was they could revisit in the summer or along those lines, and that sort of spooked me.
Yeah, I kind of hear you, but I do think he will want to see through the project. He is a ambitious manager, but he's also a very, very smart manager. There you are. God.
Hello, did you miss me?
Missed that face. Actually, go back onto microphone. Thinking about it.
Yeah. My wife wishes it had a feature like that.
Yeah, I hear that. Turn the lights off tonight, please. Yeah.
There's no light bulbs in our bedroom. Right. Finch's so much for McKenna will stay. Palace won't turn his head. There's more to Ipswich for him that I think he's enjoying being part of our journey. So we've got McKenna, we've got Haladki, we've got Wolfie, we've got the game on Saturday, the game tomorrow. We'll go to Mike the Fishman, we've got Lee Anderson. Mike, welcome in. I would have brought you in sooner, but I was having technical issues. Apologies.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. No, yeah, just been listening to what Ben said. Always love listening to you, Ben. You articulate really well.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, I think it'd be absolutely ludicrous for Kieran McKenna to go anywhere right now. You look at the managers that have sort of built a squad, built a club sort of thing from the ground up. Bournemouth, Eddie Howe, Graham Potter, Brighton. These managers, they stayed at their clubs. It was only the fact that Chelsea came in for Potter, and obviously he went, and obviously Eddie Howe got removed from Bournemouth. But look where he is now. Newcastle doing really well. Lots of injuries, I know, with Newcastle, but I think it'd be absolutely ludicrous. I can't understand why fans are worried. I'm genuinely not worried about Kieran McKenna going because I don't think he will. I think if we don't get promotion next season, look, who's to say we won't get promotion this season? But if we don't get promotion, if things don't go our way this year and we don't get promotion next season, maybe there's a chance. But I think there's a project. Yeah, Mark Ashton and the owners, they brought in Kieran McKenna, who, look, after the Bristol Rovers game, I'm not going to lie, during the game, emotions got the better of me, we ain't getting promoted with this clown all type thing on Twitter and all that. But how wrong, I love the fact I'm wrong on it, because he's brought, he's brought into what the owners want. The owners have brought into what Kieran McKenna wants.
Yeah.
And we talk about style of play. Now, we all said last year the style of play didn't suit League One. Sometimes, as a learning manager, sometimes you have to tweak it a little bit. But our run at the end of the season to get promotion was just phenomenal. And the scenes at the last game of the season was just phenomenal. And I must admit, even I've kind of forgotten all that a little bit, because I've been caught up with what we've got, what's going on now. I'm like thinking top two, we're throwing it all away. Reality is, I said 12th and 13th this season, and we are sitting 4th in the league. Yes, we're having a bit of dip in form. Yes, our current form is 17th in the league, but that doesn't mean a thing because we are sitting 4th. We're still in the run. I was apprehensive about bringing more in because 31-year-old player, didn't know whether he could sort of cut it. But look, again, happy to say I'm wrong. The only thing I would say, he's a different type of player to Hurst completely. Hurst will chase down the goalkeepers, the back line all day long until about 70 minutes where he run out of steam. Moore doesn't do any of that really. He's a target man. We were playing a lot more long passes. We were being a little bit more direct.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mike. We watching that game actually, the amount of times that that there wasn't that short play out from the back with Hladky, that he was shooting it to midfield. I haven't seen that in probably a year actually. To be fair, that's a good point.
No, we haven't played that way. We've been very methodical at the back. We've passed out the back. Morsey and obviously Luongo have been instrumental with the way that we've done that. And I think, like I said, look, players losing Hurst was Hurst offers. I remember seeing, Hurst doesn't score enough goals. It's not about how many goals Hurst scores. It's about his link-up play and how he brings other players. It's only a coincidence that Chaplin and Broadhead and players' form dipped after his injury. Because you're asking someone like Jackson, who look, great servant to the club, but should have moved on in the summer, if I'm honest.
Of 2019.
Yeah, you just can't. He can't even. Yeah, he's not. Yeah. Anyway,
but a great attitude and a great servant, and I love a player. With
Look. Do you know
great.
what? He's had some fans from fans like myself and others and that, but he's stuck with it, and he's given a good account for himself. Part of the promotion team from last year. Along with Ladapo. We all gave Ladapo. He's not good enough, but he was part of promotion. And he, these players, they're going to be part of our history, and it's important that, like, tomorrow night, I think we need to get back to winning ways. I genuinely mean that. I think look, does Chaplin drop to the bench and we bring in Al Hamadi?
He's not one.
Do you know what? I completely and utterly agree with that.
That's what I would do. I'm asking.
I completely agree with that, Mike, because it needs a bit of a big shout. And the question is it because you could equally say Broadhead, Burns, or Chaplin could all interchange with another player because all their forms have dipped. So actually, it's not so much of a massive drop off. Chaplin, because I love Chaplin. That guy will be talking about him in a quarter of a century's time. But in the last 6 or 7 games, he has gone missing, completely missing from the team, and that's why he's been subbed off earlier. He needs he needs a break.
He possibly does, but you're more likely to see a Marcus Harness deputised for a Connor Chaplin than you are
potentially. Yeah.
because
Hartnett hasn't done anything wrong, is he? He's a player that comes in. For me, the one thing, look, regardless of form and whether they're getting the rubber to green or whether they're getting into the game as much, you can't fault the players' efforts. None of them have their effort has dropped. It's just the form has dropped. Burns hasn't suddenly stopped running and stopped trying to do things. He's just he's got a little bit of dip in form. Chaplin the same. Yeah. He's still chasing around, running around, trying to do things, but the form, the rubber to green for him isn't happening. Broadhead scored at the weekend. I just feel that our biggest problem at the moment is we're conceding 2 goals a game. Yeah, and we've got to stop that.
Agreed.
And if we're talking about swapping players, is it for me? I feel it's time to bring in Walton. I really genuinely do, because people say, "Oh, Walton doesn't fit Mckenna's style." Hang on a minute, yes, he does. Played all last season, got us promoted. If 7 goals, 7 shots, 7 goals, and I would argue 4 or 5 of them goals he should have saved. It was poor at the weekend. I just feel. It's time for a change in between the sticks. We need someone that can pull off some of these saves. That doesn't necessarily mean that Hladky's poor, but I do think it's time for a change in between the sticks.
Although I'm not there yet with you, I'm not where you are with that quite yet, because I do love Hladky. Right. However, let's play that out actually, because the alternative is we're conceding 2 goals a game. It's not good enough. And what players of the defence would you swap out? Because the defence is 5 people. You have your 4 back line and your goalkeeper. Thinking, okay, fair enough actually. So if we're willing to swap out Wolfie or Burgess to Edmondson, or Clark certainly, then you could extend that to say, okay, but the goalkeeper is part of that unit, and we are conceding 2 goals a game. So although I'm probably closer to where you were than 5 games ago, I don't think I'm quite there yet. Let's see what tomorrow brings, maybe, because it's on everyone's radar now.
Yeah, I just feel that there's a lot of talk about, we need to bring Burgess back in. Well, no disrespect's right, but you can't say something has to give, because we are conceding far too many goals. It's what's killing our season. What is a fantastic season. Let's get no bones about that. I said I wouldn't moan about being back in the Championship, and I've spent the last probably 3 or 4 weeks moaning, and I just feel, and I got reminded today by Cruncher. We were having a debate on it and stuff, and I got reminded that I did say that, and I thought, you know what, he's right. Let's not moan about our season. We've just got to try and get back to winning ways. Tough old place, the old Den, but look, well beatable game. And if Moore and the players can step up and get back into the rhythm of winning games and stuff like that, the end of the day is if we're 2 points behind Southampton and Leeds at the end of the season, they're playing each other.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the results tonight, Leeds are up 3-0, Southampton are up 2-0, even fucking Norwich are winning. These teams are the machine. Southampton are doing what we did last year. It's uncompetable. Yeah. They are a machine. It's impossible.
0-0 at the moment with Southampton. Just to.
Oh, it's 2-0, was it? Oh, maybe I read it wrong. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, my apologies. Leeds 3-0. It was Leicester 2-0. So these are teams that are machines, and they're doing what we did, but to a high level, because it's a different league. But I think the biggest gift that we can give ourselves now is momentum going into the playoffs. Yes. Playoffs are a lottery, but the gift to give ourselves is momentum, because you don't want to be that team who limps in. We did that in 2015 and it cost us. We weren't ready for it. So let's be ready for it. Let's go on the back of a winning run. Let's have confidence.
Mike, last point. Go on.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, if you look at Luton last season, if you'd have put, how many would have put £100 on Luton going up? None of us.
No.
They had momentum going into. They had momentum going into the end of the season. And like I said, look, likelihood is we're going to end up in the playoffs. The top 3, I would argue that the top 3 teams that are currently sitting top 3 at the moment are probably the strongest relegated teams from the Premiership for a long time.
Oh, undoubtedly. Yeah.
They really are. And, but you look at Burnley last season, took the league apart and struggling this year in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't, winning and running away with this league doesn't necessarily guarantee you your safety in the Premiership. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. Going to watch it at home in the nice and warm. I hope we win. I'm hoping for a win, and let's just enjoy the rest of the season, lads.
Is
Yeah?
it on Town TV being a Wednesday night? Do we have to visit Cambodia in order to watch it? Do I need to book a flight?
Well, for me, I'm going to go to Budapest.
Right. It is on Town TV, I believe, or it is on Sky Red Button. It certainly should be. Check your local listings. But yes, enjoy your flights, fellas. Mike, appreciate you coming on. Look after
all the best, lads. Yeah.
See you, Mike.
We'll build on from there with Lee. Lee, you disagreed, sort of shaking your head at times there with Mike talking. What parts of it didn't you agree with?
Hi, Ben. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, mate. You're right.
Good, mate. Yeah, I'm okay. Well, a couple of points. One, I don't get the narrative around Chaplin and the goalkeeper.
Okay.
Just go back to the goalkeeper first of all. I think you got to stick with a number one. The dip in form, is it really a dip in form? We aren't winning so many games, but we're not getting beat, and we're still playing the same way, particularly second half. So
Bottom third.
We're losing
Bottom third form.
Put him.
Last 11 games, bottom third team. It's
but I don't. Yeah, I don't worry about the points. Obviously, you go up or you're judged on your points, but in those games, we haven't played that badly all most of the time.
I agree.
We've still dominated. So we played the right type of football still. It's not like we've lost our way and that, we spend the whole game not being able to get the ball up front and take chances, and we keep our structure. And that means that I'm not too worried about, the form as such. I just think when I look at the games and how we've finished strongly the last couple, it's starting the games is the problem. And Mckenna's starting to allude to that now, isn't he? A little bit more that there is a bit of an issue there, and I just think that we play an open style, and the first half an hour of a game is when both teams are fresh, and the opposition can be set, and everyone your mindset fresh, so they stay more structured and they catch us on the counter attack. It's only as the game starts to open up that we start to get a foothold on the game, and I just think that's part of our downfall in the first part of the game, just because of the way we play. So I think Mick Mills tried to allude to it after the game on the radio. Do you play a little bit tighter for the first 20 minutes? I don't think we will, because that's we try and impose ourselves. But I think there's some sort of mileage in that. In that teams set up, start of the game, we can't get the ball out very well, and then we struggle. But the other point is about Hurst and Moore, and I think either you or Mike said that we don't knock the ball forward. We've only just started doing it since Moore's been here. I thought we started doing it under Hurst. We start to mix our game a little bit more. And when Hurst got injured, that's when we didn't do it, because we had no one to knock that ball long to, and we couldn't get the ball out. We couldn't get the ball out at all until without that striker. So now we've got Moore. We can beat that press now, and we can go over the top a little bit, and Moore can hold the ball up. But I agree with everyone else about Moore and Hurst. They play centre forward, but they play it slightly differently. Hurst is probably a little bit more of an all-round, but I think Moore's more of a goal threat and seems to be more of a fox in the box. The ball seems to get attracted to him a little bit more in the box than it does to Hurst. Now, that just seems to be a natural thing for some players that happen. Some players, that doesn't. But fair point there. And Chaplin, and I think this goes on to Burns as well. And, when we get into 70 minutes and we bring Hutchinson and Samarento, to get his name. When we bring those flair players on, the game is 70 minutes old. The players are getting ragged. The space opens up, and we bring our finishers on to finish the game. I used to think that we need to give them players a chance more times, and rest Burns, rest Chaplin.
Yeah.
But we play a structure, And Chaplin, the way his movement, he's pivotal to that structure. The way he pulls out to the left or to the right, the way he tries to get in the pockets to link the play up. You know, he does that all the time. And Mike alluded to it, that, you know, he's running around, he's trying to do his bit. He's playing his position. And I think structurally wise, particularly early in the game, we would be wrong to keep taking Burns and Chaplin out of the team when we've got our flair players to come on when we need them to, when the game is open and there's more space to do that. That's just my view. They are finishers. They're the super subs, as perhaps how the football terms goes. But that's just how I feel about it. And Mckenna, as you said earlier, Ben, he'll probably go around and change it all now and put them all in. But
But I like that about him. I like the fact that there's there's fairly regularly a little bit of a shock. And something in my gut tells me that Al Hadmi's going to start tomorrow. Against Millwall's backline, they're not a quick backline at all. They're tall, but they're slow. I just think he's going to start tomorrow because McKenna's got it in him.
He has got it in him, and he would play that. He would play that over the top striker, wouldn't he? You know, that counter attack striker with the pace that Moore doesn't give you. Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. Whether or not that's a bit early for him, I don't know. But
maybe.
I mean, the other thing, bringing the flair players and that on, they all link up together and they're all playing down one side of the pitch. You don't get that too much in the first half of our games. We're a little bit more structured, so there's that point there. But he's a boy, isn't he? Yeah, I can't. How he didn't score at the end there.
Very good, very good.
Talk about almost cult hero status. My God, that would have been.
I mean, I just keep dreaming about if he'd have just put that in. I mean, he hit it too well, didn't he? He just hit that. Yeah. What a save from the goalie as well.
My dad and I walked home in silence for 3 minutes, thinking about what it would be like if that went in. I think, in fact, the walk home to this train station, 5,000 people around us, it was almost silent, despite the Alamo finish, because everyone was thinking the same thing. If that would have gone in, that's your game changer right there. That's your season turn. When we were so close, everyone was shocked. Oh. So what got me when they brought him on is that when they were knocking the diagonal ball, they were knocking the diagonal balls into him for him to nod down to our 6'8" striker, however tall he is. He was getting on the end of the crosses. He was the one who was pulling into that channel. So he's got that all-round game, and he's someone else where the ball gets attracted to him in the box. He's just that natural. You can coach players, but there's always players that it just seems to fall to. I played with players. They just stand there, and it comes to them. I'd like to hear your impression. Do you know what my takeaway from watching Al Hadmi? It's fearless. He hasn't done it long enough. He's almost operating at that level so high. There's no point in being scared. You think, well, fuck it, I'm here now, and I'm on a 4-year contract. He doesn't play with any fear at all. Whereas you do see the hesitation of Chaplin, certainly of Burns, of Broadhead. They've done it enough where it's gone wrong enough times where they're going to second guess themselves. I watch him. It's like, in the best way possible, he doesn't give a fuck. And I love that about him at the moment. Yeah. It's not going to last for very long, but I think while it's here, he's all piss and vinegar and excitement, and I love it.
I think I said a few weeks. I think when he first joined, I said, "Be interested to see how he copes." He's gone from I know he's been at was at Swansea Academy, so he's been involved in a bigger club, but he's come from Wimbledon. To all due respect, they're not going to have the backroom staff. They're not going to have the same professional setup. Was what he's facing at Ipswich, but he just doesn't seem to care, does he? And I think Morsey's alluded to it well. He just rocks up, tries to do his stuff. But let's not forget early days.
Absolutely, early days.
And when you look what we can bring off the bench now to what we could at the start of the season, we're quite in a we're in a really strong
progress. It
is progress. And Kieran McKenna's not going to go to Crystal Palace, is he? Come on.
No.
Well, okay. Well, not right this moment in time, he certainly isn't. Lee, Cruncher asked in the chat earlier for Valentine's Day, will you be allowed on the sofa?
You'll both be on the sofa.
My wife's birthday. It's my wife's birthday tomorrow as well. So double hit. Double hit.
Right. One card. So saves at least £1.20 per year on the card situation, doesn't it?
£1. Do you know what? I went to Tesco's to get a card, and I'm going to get rocked for it because look, anybody who only married once, when you get your card, you've got to get it from a card shop. You can't get it from a garage. You can't get it from Tesco's. It's got to come from a card shop, and you've got to play through the nose for it. So anybody listening, that's what you got to do. But I've not been able to manage to do that. I went into Tesco's, picked a card. It was £5. I put that down and get the one for £3. But just got to remember to take the sticker off the back as well. But get proper card shop
out there. That's really good relationship advice. Tomorrow,
and get your flat.
It's my wedding anniversary tomorrow as well, so it falls on the same day. So it's the double hitter as well.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't miss the double. You wouldn't miss a double hitter. And you get the flowers. You've got to get them from a flower shop. Don't get them from a garage. They know. They know the difference.
Know.
They do know. They do know. Yeah.
You're telling me my 99p Tesco value card is going to go down?
Yeah, but it's the thought that counts. It's the nice words. You're going to have to put some extra words in.
Roses are red, violets are blue.
Yeah.
Sugar is sweet, and so are you.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the one.
It's worked all my life, mate. So
let's just forget about rhymes and passion. Let's just do it doggy fashion. That's the one you want, mate. Get that in. Get that in.
Right. Take whatever way it can come.
Right. Wasn't expecting that, but we'll be watching this back to copy it down.
Sorry if I offended anyone. That's great.
No, appreciate you coming on. Look after yourself.
Cheers, guys.
Just going to timestamp that to go back and copy it word for word. Great Brilliant. Chat there from Mike and Ben. We've got one more call, and then we're going to look at Millwall. I know you've already said you make one change, but I'll ask you how many more changes you'll make. We've got Frank. Being Frank on
for Leandro, the language, it was terrible. Terrible.
Yeah,
disgusting. But in all fairness, it was very funny. And I have to say, that's for the Premiership League referees that we've had recently. So-called professionals, when they don't have VAR, they're screwed up. Appalling, actually, in my very humble opinion.
It hasn't been great, has it? Let's be honest. Sharon says, such romance on Talking Town. Did you expect anything else from Talking Town than gushing romance? But Frank, back to town, back to what we've been talking about this evening. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Any conversation, any point you want to pick up on that you've heard this evening, we've not brought up, it's now your time. So over to you. What's on your mind?
Well, the first thing is Ladke. I think keep him in goal, even though he has conceded a few dubious ones of late. Maybe 2 out of the 7 you could argue were his fault. The rest were defensive errors to a large extent, and the goal, the second goal on Saturday, he was unsighted, as a commentator on EFL said, that he was unsighted by Luke Wolfenden. So the ball shot through and it bounced in front of him. And he said, even the commentator said he was blameless for that. So keep him in the side, because look at Walton, FA Cup appearance, 2 goals. I think he only had 2 shots and he conceded both of them. I think Ladke would have saved at least 1. So that's something I would like to bring on board. And another thing is my changes for Millwall. I bring Burgess in for Edmondson, Travis in for Luango, and Hutchinson in for Wes Burns. Some people would say, Wes Burns, you can't drop him. Yes, you can.
What's your thinking behind it?
I don't disagree with any of that, actually. I'm completely behind all that.
No, but I'm intrigued to find out what's your thinking behind the change for Wes there.
Well, I just think he's ever since he's had his hair cut, I compared him with Hercules, mistaken, of course, with Samson and Delilah. When Samson had his hair trimmed, another old Greek tragedy of sorts, mythical. So anyway, I think he's not been the same player since. We just have to wait for him to grow his hair. Problem solved.
Or buy him hair extensions, either one. I mean, we can nip down Claire's.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Never thought of that.
Just nip down Claire's, get a couple of packets, he'll be absolutely fine. With Charlie says Burgess, Samuel, Hutchinson, and Ali to start for him. Harps says Ladke's made 0 saves in 3 games. Obviously, if you're saying it's not his fault for the goals, Mike disagreed, as you heard.
Yeah, well, Mike always does, doesn't he? I mean, Mike's been a Ladke hater from day one, as far as I can recall on this show. Ever since I've seen him, he's been praying that Walton comes back in. And Lancashire Steve has calmed things down a bit. He's been much more civil about it and suggested that Ladke is worth his weight in goal these days. So that's good. In gold. But I've got one or 2 other things. Cruncher said that Mick Mills should be put to grass. He said he's old and decrepit. Well, he didn't use those words, of course, but he's implying that Radio Suffolk should get rid of him because he's a boring old bastard. Now,
I don't think he said that either, but he
didn't say that. He didn't. I'm
Right.
sorry. I'll take that back. But the inference was the same, Martin. The inference was the same. Now, my argument is he won't light up a room with his exquisite conversations because he's not that type of man. But when it comes to his football knowledge, his experience, and what he's done for Ipswich Town, and if you actually read his texts rather than listen to him speaking them out, then you would realise that he knows an awful lot about football. When I was quizzing him one time about the marking, what do you call it, zonal marking, he explained in lucid detail to me what it was about, because I was getting confused with this new zonal marking, and he articulated it very well. He's a man that knows the old game and the new game pretty well, so I think we should all give him a bit of a break. He's not the most entertaining conversationalist. He's not the most entertaining secondary commentator in many respects, but I think he's good for what he does, and keep him on BBC Radio.
I agree. I actually agree with both, and I agree with Cruncher to a side. I said, yes, Mick Mills sends you to sleep, but it'll be a lovely journey when you're getting there. Because his football knowledge is absolutely first rate, and when you get past, because you have to drive home listening to him, and it's quite a journey for me. So to stay awake is a bit of a hazard for me. However, if you listen to the words, not the tone, you actually get on well, because his knowledge is actually is. I think, holy shit, that's a really good point. Actually, it's just said in the most monotonous way possible. But I do tend to agree with you.
And I have to say with Mills, Graham Mack, when sometimes I'm on Radio Suffolk, and he said, Frank, you'll have to wait a while. Mick will talk for a long while about this. And he'd come on and intercept, because he does talk an awful lot. But again, if you were to read his text, you'd know that just about everything he says makes some sense. It's not and I think somebody said to me, an Irishman who's on here sometimes, Trevor, I think he said, look, I prefer Mick Mills as one of these journalists or one of these commentators on Sky TV rather than some of the guys sitting in the studio knowing nothing about football. There is some validity in that, but I don't think you'll ever get it on Sky. He talks for too long, and let's face it, it's exhausting sometimes to listen to unless you're attentive to detail, and that is the key to it. Being attentive to detail.
You said backstage, and yeah, Mick Mills is absolute legend. He's he knows more than I'll ever. He's forgotten more than I'll ever know about football. Being Frank Ipswich Town, you said backstage, I see 23 points from our next 9 games, and you're convinced that Southampton will have a dip in form and points shortly. Also, Leeds to contend with. But you see 23 points from our next 9 games. So you're really thinking this is the time Town are going to hit the gears again and accelerate through.
And if you let me run through them very quickly. Millwall tomorrow night, 0-2 for Ipswich, 3 points. Swansea 1-1, 1 point. Rotherham 4-1 at home, 3 points. Birmingham 2-0 at home, 3 points. Plymouth away 2-2, so that's 1 point. Bristol City, and that's at home, 3 points. Cardiff City away, and I think that'll be a 1-2 to Ipswich, 3 points. Sheffield Wednesday at home, I see it as 5-2 for Ipswich. And Blackburn, and the scores don't matter too much. Blackburn away, I think Ipswich will win narrowly, maybe 2-1. So if you add all that up, it's 23 points. That would mean that we'd have had 24 wins, 11 draws, and 4 defeats over the course of the season, and would be on 83 points. That's very, very close to automatic.
It's very close. And actually, look at those teams there. I think, unless I miss one out, the highest team we're facing there is Bristol City, currently, as the league table reads, in 11th. So a good opportunity, Frank, I guess, to really get ourselves back in the groove and build that momentum that Ben was talking about in the early part of the show.
Yeah, I'm really positive, actually. I may be in the minority, I'm sure I am, to suggest that Ipswich can still make those automatics. But remember last season, let's not forget, it was around about this time that we were all saying, we'll struggle to even make the playoffs. And we ended up almost winning the league. So this may be a good time seasonally for Ipswich to start to perform. And I think it was a big blow, the FA Cup defeat. I think it did knock confidence. It must have done. I mean, it's the worst defeat in Ipswich Town's history. So it's taken a while to get the mojo back. But I saw glimpses of that in the Preston game. And, I really think the last one against West Brom, the last 20 minutes, we showed real endeavour, real belief. The passing was back, and our goal threat was back intact as well. So I really do believe that keep the faith, folks. We're going to get there.
Perfect. Frank, thanks for coming on. We appreciate your time. Look after yourself.
See you, Bob.
Harp says, love Westlake's passion on Town TV when we score. Get in. Charlie said 25 points for the next 10 games for Charlie. 1 point a game guarantees playoffs, says Harps. The good doctor, Miss McMills. So Glenn and Ian West are great, in my honest opinion. Talk a lot of sense and grounded. Some great points tonight. We'll look ahead to Millwall tomorrow. Before we are partnered with Stone Market Osteopaths. I go to Stone Market Osteopaths for osteopath, but you can also go there for physiotherapy. I haven't been in a while, Ben, and this afternoon I bent down to pick something up for Arthur, and all I heard was click, 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 and I thought, oh, I need to get back to Stone Market Osteopaths ASAP. I'll be giving you a call.
You can, if there was a graph that could, the amount of time it takes me from bending over to getting up since becoming a father, that time has gone longer and longer and longer. Like, oh!
It was just the clicks. It was just the body literally clicking as it moved. That I thought I need to get back to Stone Market Osteopaths. And maybe you're someone who's living in pain like I do. Don't live in pain. Go and see Freddie. Tell him the Governor sent you. 01449 613 633 for Stone Market Osteopath and Physiotherapy Services. Right, Millwall tomorrow. Halaki was in goal on Saturday. You have said you retain him, so I'm not going to ask you that question. Back four was Clark, Wolfie, Fridge, and Davis. Any changes to the back four for you?
Yeah, Burgess for Fridge. For me,
Burgess for Fridge. Yeah. You're not tempted to bring in Axel?
No, I don't think so. I think Clark, as inconsistent as he is, I like him. I love his passion. It balls over a bit sometimes, but he grows into a game. As long as we're tight, he can afford to do that. But for me, just the one, Burgess for Fridge. Not a critique on Fridge. Done nothing wrong. I just think Burgess is better.
Okay, absolutely. All right. I'd stick with Fridge. I think he's done absolutely nothing wrong. I thought he was really good on Saturday. I'd stick with Fridge. Midfield 2 was obviously Morsey and Massimo. Would you make any changes there? I'm tempted to bring Travis in for this one.
I have to go with you on that. Yes, I would go with you on that. I think I love Luongo, but needs a rest. Needs a rest. Okie dokie. Ironically, since he said he was quitting international football to focus on town, I think he's dipped a little bit. But then again,
oh my God, yes, I agree. I thought the same thing. Yes, yeah. No, yeah, definitely. The front three behind Moore obviously was Burns, Chaplin, and Broadhead. Any changes for yourself there?
Yeah, Burns for perhaps Hutchinson. Broadhead scored his goal. I want to see what he does with it. It might be that that's a confidence getting goal. Stick with that. And who's the other one? Chaplin. It's a brave man to take Chaplin out of the team. Kieran might do it. Maybe for the moment, because I would take out Burns, I wouldn't want to take out Chaplin as well. So keep in Chaplin, but just swap Burns around. Maybe give Burns a bit of a breather because I think he needs it. He needs it. Well, look, we have a depth full squad for a reason. It's to keep every player on their toes and fighting for their place. So let's go with that, intention, and just give them a bit of a rest.
I've got one or two threes. My first three would be Burns, Chaplin, and Broadhead, unchanged. But my second three, I'm quite tempted by the prospect of Amari, Chaplin, and Ali on the left. I'm really tempted by the pace of Amari and Ali on the. It's not really as wingers; they're tucked in because obviously you've got Davis and Clark who provide the width in our system. They play closer to Moore. So I don't see a world where Kiefer Moore sits on the bench or starts on the bench too many times between now and the end of the season. I don't think he's here to do that. I really don't.
I agree, but then again, you say the same for Hutchinson and Sarmiento. They're brought in to play games, and that's the trouble with having a squad the depth of good players. They've all got to kind of play. So, does it even matter in a modern game when you allow 5 subs and you're subbing?
Oh, it doesn't. No.
Anyway, it almost doesn't really matter who you start with. To be fair, I mean, it all ends the same way. We end with momentum and speed. I'm just very wary that we are a second half team for the last 10 games. And what happens in the second half, we change the players about. That we're cutting in, we're not crossing, we're not bylining, we're cutting in, and we always seem to do better. So why not try that a little bit at the beginning and see what happens? What have we got to lose? We're nailed on 4th this season. We're not going up automatically. We have to crack 92 points for that, by my estimation. We're not doing that. That's 2.75 points a game from now to the end of the season. I've accepted fourth in my heart, and I'm really happy with it. So let's try the things that will see us into the momentum of fourth. And I think really focus up front as well. What are our options up front? What does this system do? What does this system do? Because Christ knows we're going to need to call on it before long.
I think Sarmiento, though, is a very interesting. It sort of highlights the life of a football player, because if we did this show this time last week, people would have been saying we've got to play Sarmiento. We've got to play Sarmiento. Obviously, off the back of a really decent cameo, it's now a different name. People are saying we've got to start this player. We've got to find a way to get this player, and then next week it'll probably be that different name, and that's the life of a football player, and that's really quite interesting to watch those ebbs and flows through the season.
It's the life of a fan, Gov. It's always the player who's not on the pitch. Oh, this is a game.
Absolutely,
it's always the player not playing. Yeah.
Of course, unless you win 5-0, and then you have to talk about it.
Well,
JTB, I wouldn't change the team from Saturday. Let's keep a consistent team and build like we did this time last year. Hamish, this podcast needs a sponsor like Manscaped, just to hear the Gov enthusiastically promote ball shaving. Hamish, in the early days, we did, but not enough people wanted to shave.
I remember it well, and I remember saying you don't need Manscaped when you've already got balls as smooth as snooker ones.
Clearly, not enough people wanted to use, to shave their bits, so that's why they're no longer partners.
I remember
with us.
that. That was a brilliant effort. You sold that beautifully. There were a lot of Ipswich Town shirts walking around with squeaks between their legs because of that excellent campaign you done. So well done.
Well, if I know we've got a whole lot of new viewers. If people want to shave their bits, I'll get a code for you. Not a problem. Just let me know in the comments. It is Valentine's Day after all. It's the least I could do. I like that, Gav. Not sure as a start, but I think that's handier earlier than 60 odd minutes. Will Burgess come in? No, I don't think he will. I wouldn't start Burgess. I
think he will.
Very happy.
I think he will.
You think he will? I'm very happy with Bridge. I think it would be unfair, but then life's not fair, as I tell my children. So maybe Burgess does come back. I don't know. Maybe I've just talked myself completely around in that argument, but I don't know. Luckily, I'm not paid. Unluckily, I'm not paid the money, but luckily, I'm not paid the money to make the decision. That makes sense. Like, I'd love to have that problem to have. Bart, should Tav gone in for Timu Pukey? Make it short and sharp. No.
No.
Greg,
no.
Keeping Luke in this. And Wolfenden. Keeping Wolfenden in the centre back position is a recipe considering at least one goal a game. And Hamish, we're a second half team because our best attackers are usually on the bench. Last but not least, we are live tomorrow. Match reaction. It might be Valentine's Day, but I am going to be here with a match reaction. So do join me on the full-time whistle. But last but not least, a score prediction, please, from you and the chat.
I'm going for a healthy, solid 2-0.
A healthy, solid 2-0. All right, love it. Keith says 2. All right. Keith says 2 similarities to last season. Poor run start with a horrid draw and finish on Valentine's Day. So tomorrow worries me, but then it's all roses. Lovely way to end the show. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, watch it on catch up, comment for the algorithm FTA. Do visit our partners, Match Bingo, £2 a bingo card, over 18s, be gamble aware. Stowmarket Osteopath for osteopath physiotherapy. That man there is the Milk Tray Man, Ben Adams.
Thank you for having me, Gov. It's been a pleasure as always.
It's been a very good hour. I've really enjoyed it. We've got lots of scores coming in. I'll just finish with those and then I'm going to hit the button. So thank you for watching. But here are your scores. You've got Lee 1-2. Mossy says 4-0 to Town. Finches says Millwall 1, Town 3. Matt says 2-2. Sharon says, looking forward to Valentine's Day. Now I've learned from tonight's show that romance is not dead. No, Sharon, romance, it ain't dead. It's living here and it's living its best life. Adi says 1-2. James says 3-0 Town. Says 2-0. Lots of positivity. I love it. And Hamish, who wants a Manscaped code, says 4-0 Town. He's feeling the love. Thank you. And I'll see you all tomorrow. You make me smile when I think of you. If I get down low and I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. I woke up all soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I thought when crazy
crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair.